Welcome to another edition of Our City. Just keep in mind that the City of Elizabeth and the County of Union have plenty of vaccines available. We have the new bivalent vaccine that specifically focuses on the new Omicron variant. Residents can visit ucnjvaccine.org or the City of Elizabeth website or elizabethnj.org. All our social media sites for more information. You can call 908-820-4124. While the restrictions have been loosened, keep in mind that COVID has not gone away and personal responsibility is extremely important as we head into the winter months. Here in the City of Elizabeth, we also give out flu shots. You can contact us through those websites or call our office for scheduled times. Now, I'm pleased to be joined on this week's show as we discuss Estuary Week here in the City of Elizabeth. I'm pleased to be joined by Dr. Craig Donovan at Kean University, Mr. Michael Ojeda, who is a principal over across the street at the Thomas Jefferson Arts Academy and the Board of Education, Ms. Rubina Saghir, who is also on the faculty at Thomas Jefferson Arts Academy, and Ms. Carol Savona, who is a Future Cities board president. Welcome to the show, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Dr. Donovan, Craig, why don't we start with you and tell us about Future City Incorporated, the Elizabeth River, the Arthur Kill Water Association, and you've been a participant in organizing this for the last 23 years.
No, that's very true. And for anybody who isn't aware, so have you. Your support has been critical to the success of this effort for all of these years. You've been a leader in the state on climate change and resilience and supporting the Board of Education and all of their hard work to bring this not just to Elizabeth, but to the students of Elizabeth, the residents, and the state as a whole. So we at Future City have been very proud to help.
And Craig, we named a cove after one of your colleagues many years ago. And tell us about that, because it's an interesting part of the history of this organization.
Well, John Devashovitz was a colleague of mine. He was a geologist and a biologist and was very interested in the water quality and the marine life and in preserving the estuary as a living shore. Unfortunately, he suffered a brain aneurysm and died very, very suddenly and left us far too young. But we were very pleased to be able to name the cove in his honor.
Thank you. And Carol, with that lovely background that you have, share with us what an estuary is and how it relates to all of us in Elizabeth.
Oh, basically, an estuary is where a river flows into an ocean. The water isn't fresh or sweet like a river, and it's not as salty as the ocean. It's a combination of the two, which we call brackish water. Elizabeth is bordered by the estuary known as the Arthur Kill, which you can see behind me. It's a marine highway which separates us from Staten Island. The health of the estuary is very important to us and the marine life it supports. John's Cove, like Craig mentioned, is very important, and we were very proud when it was named a living shoreline. This is a national designation, and it's an honor to the city. The health of this estuary depends upon us, since stormwater overflow and all that it holds ends up in the estuary and then in the ocean. A healthy estuary supports healthy marine life and recreation and is an asset to the city. And that's what we want to promote.
Thank you very much, Carol. And also, you've been around Future City for a while, and we appreciate all the work you do, not only on Estuary Week, but for Environmental Week and everything else. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mike, over there at Thomas Jefferson Arts Academy, you're obviously involved with the students and you get them involved every year. Give us a quick review of how you interacted with the students and their thoughts before I go to Rubina.
Sure. So thank you again for having me. Over the course of the week, we have, in consultation and in collaboration with our folks at Future City, created a 3-day experience for students. It starts with an overview where students get acquainted with the basic vocabulary and other important academic features of what is an estuary, why Elizabeth is an estuary, and how it is that an estuary is important not only to our general life here, but also kind of the broader life that we have here as Americans. Then over the course of the following 2 days, students do an additional 2-part series on the history of the estuary in this area, on different aspects of what it entails, and then do a closure with a homework each night. And students every year have a great experience, not only learning about what it is that they can do for our community, but learning more broadly, what their community does to help them succeed.
Mike, we appreciate your supervision and the work you do over there as the principal, and clearly you've seen some really bright students come and go from your school, and a lot of it is a testament to your leadership. Thank you. Rubina, you're in charge of the science students. Sharing Estuary Week with them has to be a special because they actually want to proceed and study stuff like this. So tell us your role in working with the students and share some of the highlights with some of the students.
So the students actually, like Mike just said, they go through this process of going, they watch the videos and the lessons, and which makes them aware of all the economic as well as the environmental impact estuaries have. And estuaries are really important for our community, not only as providing job opportunities, but they are also known as the nurseries of the sea. Different organisms, marine organisms spawn in those areas, and that is why they're known as estuaries, as the nurseries. But also because they provide, they have methods of getting rid, they filter the water, they clean the environment. So keeping healthy estuaries is really important. And all this knowledge helps the students become aware of what they can do, the role they can play in keeping our estuaries healthy.
So, Rubina, do you think, as we wrap up this show, do you think they bring this information home to maybe other students, younger, older children? What do you think?
I'm sure they do, because when the students go home and if they see their neighbors or their parents or their siblings do something that is going to harm the estuaries, they are going to say that, oh, you shouldn't do that because this is going to, let's not create pollution because this is going to harm the estuaries. So I'm sure they take this information home, which is really important, and that is what we want.
And Mike, what do you think? They discuss it with families? Do you ever hear back any feedback from some of the students, or what they might have a conversation at home about?
So yeah, every year we hear stories about conversations with younger siblings, with cousins, with parents, about what we can do in order to keep our estuary clean, what can we do in order to make sure that environmentally that we act responsibly, and what can we do to help make Elizabeth a better place to live. So it's something that our students tend to look forward to every year, not just because of the virtual or in-person trip, but also because it gives them opportunity to learn from their classmates, learn from their teachers, and learn from the broader community.
And Dr. Donovan, you deal with some college students, so tell us a little bit, a higher level student perspective and what you would like to leave and share with the audience.
Well, I think one of the things you notice is that the students, particularly at the college age, is when, if no other time, they become aware of how important the environment is, and that they're living in and going to grow up in and raise their children in and grow old in. And so it's so important what is done today to make sure that they're future and their children and grandchildren's future is secure. And that obviously includes the very vital water resources that are a part of all of this. So the idea of climate change and resilience and education about that is so key to them. And we've seen that just increases year after year after year.
And Carol, we're going to wrap up the show with you. Tell us how you're having success with a lot of volunteers and some interns at Future City and their learned value towards the environment.
Well, first, we appreciate that we could bring our environmental message to so many students. When we work with Future City, we get out to the students through our interns and through the media, and it's exciting. And it's nice to see when we get feedback from the students and the parents who are saying, oh, my son told me not to do this because it's a bad thing to throw oil in the street, or we can't get rid of that type of garbage because it's going to get into our sewers, so we're happy to hear things like that. And we know the kids are paying attention and passing it on.
So I want to thank you, Carol and Rubina and Michael and Craig, for taking the time out of your schedule to join us on this program. For the second half, we're going to have this Historical Society on, and I'm sure we're going to cover some of these grounds as well. So I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
For Craig and Michael and Rubina and Carol, I'm Chris Bollwage. Stay with us, where we'll be joined by the Historical Society for the second half of this evening's show. Welcome back to our city. And keep in mind that beginning Friday, the 14th of October through October 18th, the Historical Society of Elizabeth, New Jersey has partnered not only with my office, but the County of Union and the Elizabeth Board of Education to conduct an interactive forum with social studies students at our Elizabeth Public Schools. The City of Elizabeth and the County of Union continue to have vaccines available. You can visit ucnjvaccine.org, elizabethnj.org, or any of our social media sites. And if you need any more information, just call our Public Information Office at 908-820-4124. Keep in mind that personal responsibility is extremely important. As COVID rules have been relaxed, COVID is still with us. And I'm pleased to be joined on tonight's show, as you heard from the folks on Estuary Day in the beginning of this show. This second part is about the Historical Society and what I said in my opening comments. And I'm pleased to be joined by Ms. Ceil Mantia, the Historical Society President, Mr. Michael Simon, Historical Society Secretary, Sebastian Prado, who is the Treasurer of the Historical Society, and Mr. Bruce Elflein, who is the Social Studies Supervisor at the Elizabeth Board of Education. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, Ceil, why don't we kick it off with you as the president and the Elizabeth Forum. Why does the Historical Society conduct these forums, and what do you hope to get out of it?
Well, we are continuing to have our annual forums because we feel it's important to continue to gather information, research. It's also important for us to have this research and information available to all of our students and our constituents. We are very much aware of the fact that history is important to us. It gives us a picture of the past and how it is impacting our present and probably our future. But many people don't understand this, and so we are trying to bring awareness, especially to our young people. And we do this through our partnership with your office and the Board of Education, where we select a topic. It is then given to the Board of Education, and the groups and the teachers are then able to research the project, research the topic, and come to the forum prepared to listen to the panelists, which are a group of people from the community, to speak on various subjects and in different perspectives about the topic at hand. For example, the coronavirus, how did it impact education, medicine, economy? And these panels then interact with the students who are able to raise questions, who are able to make comments. And we feel that this continues to bring history aware and alive. And that's what we feel we accomplished through these forums.
Thank you. And Mike, you kind of grew up in this organization, right? You started when you were younger than Sebastian.
Maybe, I think so. It's been definitely over a decade since I just got out of law school. I started here working on projects with Dr. Mattingly, the president at the time.
Yeah, and one of the things you enjoy, Mike, is researching. And Elizabeth has an awful lot to research as we go back in history. Tell us about why is research still important today?
It's important today because in order to understand the culture of today, the diverse culture of today, our economy, the politics of today, and even our human relationship to geography, it's important to know how we got here and what events and people and ideas in the past have helped shape how we're living today. So it's also important not just for a few people to study it, but for everyone to really be aware of our city's history, our state's history, and our country's history, because it's necessary in order to provide a roadmap to have an idea of how best to set policies for the future.
And Mike, what is the theme of this year's forum?
This year's forum, for our fall forum, which coincides with 4 Centuries Weekend, is Hispanic Heritage Month 2022. In this forum, we discussed and researched and studied the personal stories of individuals in our Hispanic community who and the challenges they faced through the pandemic, and also the great floods that we suffered last year during last fall's tropical storm.
Sebastian, tell us about what was specifically involved in preparation for this forum.
Yes, so as Mike mentioned, during this weekend we have 2 events, the Hispanic Heritage Month and 4 Centuries in a Weekend. So for Hispanic Heritage Month, before our final day, we have to pre-record our forum, contact the speakers, that way we have everyone set for one day to record our forum, and then work with the Board of Education, that way we can share our forum with all the students, as many students as possible.
And Bruce, can you talk about the student involvement and the scheduling? How do you manage all that?
Well, as you know, Mr. Mayor, forums like this don't happen overnight. It took months of planning and many meetings with the Historic Society, with Michelle McBean, who's done a magnificent job organizing this. All that planning culminated in a series of meetings that I attended over the last several weeks. At last count, I think I attended like 7 or 8 meetings, just to fine tune the events that are taking place and all the logistics that go into it. A lot of planning and a lot of work by a lot of dedicated people.
So Sebastian and Bruce, can you give us an idea of what the schedule is and the detail of the schedule over the next couple of weeks that Bruce just talked about?
So on Saturday, October 15 at 10 a.m., we will be sharing our Hispanic Heritage Month Forum on our YouTube channel. It will be, everyone will be able to see it, not only the people of Elizabeth, but also anyone that has access to YouTube and wants to learn more about our city. Then, as part of 4 Centuries in a Weekend, our property, the basement of the mansion, will be open to the public to go through tours, and that will happen on Saturday, October 15 and Sunday, October 16, from 12 noon until 5 p.m. And then on Monday, the students of the Elizabeth Public Schools will be watching the Hispanic Heritage Month Forum as part of the social studies areas.
Bruce, do all the students watch what Sebastian just talked about on Monday, or is it geared towards the historical or the history classes?
It's geared more towards the history classes. I disseminate the information to my social studies staff, and then they, in turn, bring the students in, and they can then watch the videos that are provided.
Bruce, is this the first time we're doing such a larger effort, I'd say, inside the schools?
No, we've been doing this with the Historic Society for, I would say, a good 6-7 years. This goes back quite a ways.
And how's the feedback then, Bruce, from the students and teachers about this?
We get a number of students who visit the historic sites on the 4 Centuries weekend. They are given extra credit by their teachers, who also encourage them to come out to visit the historic sites. We get a lot of positive feedback from both parents and students.
So, Ceil, if you had to describe in a couple of words, and my notes here say 3 words, the forum message that you want students to internalize, what would you say? Do you all have 3 different words? Is that the trick here?
I
Yes.
would say awareness, just and hope that things will be better. I'm talking more than 3 words, and that history repeats itself sometimes.
No, so you did awareness, hope, and history. Probably good 3 words to characterize the forum. Anybody else want to chime in on this challenge of 3 words?
I summed it up in a phrase, past creates present.
Past creates present. That is so true, Bruce. And as Ceil just said about repeating it, the history forums that you guys have put together are going to be maintained for hundreds of years, and hopefully people are going to continue to review our history as you and others continue to write it. So thank you for all of your efforts. And Mike, keep doing the research, huh?
I will. I'll keep at it. Thanks for having us on.
I want to thank the 4 of you for taking the time to join us for this segment of Our City. And I'm a big history buff. I appreciate your efforts, and I learn something new every time I chat with you folks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
So I want to thank Ceil, and I want to thank Michael and Sebastian and Bruce for taking the time to join us on the show and impart their knowledge through the forums with the young people. Their work is monumental in making sure that future Elizabethans understand our history. And I want to thank Craig and Michael and Rubina and Carol for talking about Estuary Week earlier in the show. Please watch. We'll see you next week on another edition of Our City.